It's the final episode of Wild World, and I want to begin by saying a huge thank you to everybody that has contributed to this series. It's been a salvation for me during this strange time to get lost in your excitement and learn about the wildlife on your doorsteps. Never in my lifetime have we as human beings gone through a crisis quite like this one, and this has been a shared experience, not just here in the UK but across the entire globe. But emerging from that has been this common sense of finding peace and calm and solace in nature, and that is something pretty amazing to have come out of this situation. And so with that, we are going to head over to Gloucester and check in with Billy and his badger family for one final time.
My Wild World journey has not only taken me on a fantastic adventure through the woodland behind my house, but it's enabled me to get to know and understand badger behaviour in a way that I never thought I would experience. What started out as a little bit of fun setting up camera traps has resulted in hours and hours of footage, providing me with an insight into the lives of these marvellous mustelids. I've been fortunate enough to document some amazing behaviours and lots of scratching and grooming. When badgers groom themselves, they tend to do so sitting down or laying on one side or the other. And while self-grooming, a badger will tend to focus on its stomach, legs, tail and face. They do attempt to groom parts of their rump, back and shoulders, but they can't always quite hit the spot, and this is where it gets really neat, because as well as grooming themselves, badgers will help groom their other clan members, and this is known as allo grooming. Allo grooming refers to a reciprocal grooming between members of the same species, and it helps establish and maintain relationships and hierarchies between the animals. But it also plays an important role in reducing ticks in areas that an animal cannot reach with its own mouth. So it literally is, I'll scratch your back if you scratch mine. Now, as well as being able to observe and document all of these fascinating behaviours, it's been an utter privilege to be able to watch the badger cubs grow up over the past 6 weeks. And in this time, they've grown from tiny, unsteady little balls of fur to bold, playful individuals. Using the camera traps, I've been able to monitor the activity patterns of the badgers, which has ultimately enabled me to work out when I could go and stake out the set and record some close-ups of the cubs. But it's not going to stop here. I'm very much looking forward to carrying on watching these cubs grow up through the summer. And through these strange and uncertain times, the badgers and the natural world in general has not only been a motivator and a means of keeping me happy, but it's been the perfect escape, and it's really hit home how much there is to learn when you just sit and observe everything that's going on around you. I really hope you've enjoyed the updates from my badger family over the past 6 weeks. Stay safe, keep washing those hands, and maybe I'll see you soon.
If you'd like to keep following Billy and his badger family, then do follow him on Instagram, where he posts regular updates. And now we're heading to the New Forest, where zoologist and presenter Megan McCubbin introduces a family of red foxes that have moved into her patch in the past few years.
I've probably been noticing more about the wild world on my doorstep since isolation began. I'm taking note of the biodiversity around me, the signs of spring, the bird song, and I found it so enlightening in this really difficult time. But there is one family of animals I really wanted to introduce you to. They're both very close to my home and my heart. That is the family of red foxes, which have taken residence in a den just down the lane from the house. In rural areas like this one, their diet will consist of about 95% meat. The rest will come from fruits and nuts that they'll scavenge from their environment, but they'll pretty much take whatever they can get their jaws on. And that's perhaps what makes them so successful as urban and city dwellers. Foxes can be incredibly shy and secretive animals, so sometimes the best way to get a really good glimpse of them is to use non-invasive methods like this one. This, of course, is a camera trap, and I'm just walking over to go and set it up in a prime spot round the corner from the den. So I've just been to set up the camera trap. It's all ready to go. I'm keeping fingers crossed that tonight or sometime in the next week or so we're going to start to see a few fox cubs coming out and exploring a little bit. But for now, here's some footage that I've caught in previous years of the cubs in that den. Foxes are fantastic animals because they take part in something called allo-parenting, whereby the non-breeding animals help to rear the young of this year's breeding adults. This helps them gain experience so that when they're sexually mature enough to reproduce themselves, the chances of success are much higher. Keep looking out for things, keep noticing things, and most importantly, stay safe.
And now, time for our final birdsong lesson with the lovely Lucy.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to what is going to be the final, for now, mini birdsong lesson. And today we're going to cover 2 birds for the price of 1. Both of these birds have a very similar song and it's quite easy to get them mixed up. They're also both very familiar garden visitors, so you're likely to both hear and see them at the same time. They are the wood pigeon and the collared dove. So the wood pigeon is that large bird. He's grey with a white mark on his neck and that yellow eye. Collared doves are a little bit smaller, buff in colour, and they've got that black collar on the neck which gives them their name. So both of these birds are easy to remember in that they sing their names. The wood pigeon will sing and he will emphasise that he is a pigeon, not a dove. Wood pigeon, pigeon. Wood pigeon, pigeon. The collared dove, on the other hand, just sings his name and there's no emphasis about the dove. He'll go round and round, just saying collared dove, collared dove, collared dove. So you listen out, you can pick up that beat, you can count the syllables and you can work out who's singing. So hopefully those are 2 easy birds to finish this off on. I hope you've enjoyed following this series. It's been a really good 7 weeks getting to know some really common, familiar garden voices of birds. And I highly recommend that you carry it on. It's a brilliant hobby. It's really restorative, it's great to connect with nature, and you're learning lots all the time. These easy ones we've covered make a really good foundation, so you can hopefully build up from here and learn some more complex song. Thanks for watching and see you soon.
Sometimes it takes very little to help a species in trouble or in decline, and next we have Cornwall Wildlife Trust's Cheryl Marriott, who's going to talk to us about a brand new obsession and how we might help this little creature to thrive.
During lockdown, I've become a bit obsessed with hedgehogs. We're really worried about them because the numbers are in decline both in the wider countryside and in urban areas. It all started one morning when I found hedgehog poo in the garden. This is the best clue that you've got hedgehogs coming in. Once I knew I had hedgehogs visiting, I put out a trail camera and I've been putting that out every night since. It's been fascinating to see what goes on out here when we're tucked up in bed asleep. I was really pleased to see that the hedgehogs are behaving very naturally, snuffling around in the long grass. I've seen them eat worms and poke their noses deep into the lawn looking for food. I've even been able to go back to the same spot in daylight and see the snuffle holes. I was wondering what else they're feeding on, so I got one of the hedgehog droppings and crumbled it up and had a look under a microscope, and I found the remains of 2 of hedgehogs' favourite foods. I found the tail appendages from an earwig and the back end of a beetle. Gardens can be brilliant places for hedgehogs because they mimic their natural woodland edge habitat. It's where shrubs blend down into long grasses like the area behind me. That's perfect. It can look a bit untidy, but this is providing the shelter that they need and the right conditions for their invertebrate food. And not just for hedgehogs, but a load of other species as well. My challenge to you is to do your local hedgehogs a favour and let your garden go a little bit wilder. Who knows, if enough of us do that, then together we might be able to reverse the decline in their numbers.
For the final instalment in the series, we are visiting a place that is very special to me. We are heading over to Woodland Valley Farm to meet local farmer Chris Jones and the amazing Cornish beavers. I've been involved in this project now for over 3.5 years, capturing the beavers as they were released onto the site in the summer of 2017 and continuing to document their progress as they transform and improve the site. This is an incredible and an important project to be a part of, one that is really making space for nature and just allowing it to do its thing. I'm going to say goodbye to you now and thank you so much for watching, and I'm going to leave you with the wise words of the wonderful Chris Jones as we join him at the enclosure to find out how he and the beavers have been getting on during lockdown.
Having the beavers has been an absolute delight because they're constantly working, either building a dam or cutting down a tree or building a lodge. There's always something going on, and any day of the week you can come down and it's a little bit different from the day before. The ability to be out in nature, it's always important, but it seems more important today. Regardless of whether we're stuck in town or stuck out here, there are a lot of uncertainties at the moment. So being able to be here and really just lose yourself in nature is a wonderful sort of healing balm, really. The day the beavers were released here was a really, really wonderful day. Seeing these animals back in this habitat for the first time in probably 1,000 years, back into a habitat that they really should be in, was just magical. We got round to May and we thought, oh, perhaps there'll be some youngsters soon, and nothing. They'd built a nice lodge on the island, and then we came round to June, and lo and behold, there was a tiny, tiny beaver in the water. And then the next night, we had 2. It was just wonderful. The beavers really are the quintessential engineers of nature. They change the way our river valleys work and function. They bring back ecological integrity. This has a whole range of interesting side effects. One is, in a period of drought, you get a lot more water left, so fish and birds and other wildlife actually thrive better. One of the really, really big things is when we have periods of very, very wet weather, they hold a lot more water up here in the land before it gets somewhere where it can flood. While we've had to really slow down and step back from our normal busy lives, it's been much more noticeable that nature just cracks on. Whatever's going on, nature's there doing its thing. And with the beavers in particular, it's really life-affirming to see them just getting on with things. And you know that things are changing here, and the whole time changing for the better. We are a fundamental part of nature ourselves, and I'm really hoping that this crisis is going to show us that we need to have a much, much closer affinity with nature and learn to live with it and help it as much as possible, because if nature isn't thriving, then neither are we.